again, and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today, I'm going to talk about maybe one of the more unique albums that I've ever bought or that I've ever listened to by a band that I'm really into. It's Kadavar. It's called the Isolation Tapes. I'm going to talk about it today. The reason I'm talking about this one today, sometimes I kind of like to share that, what kind of motivates me or inspired to talk about any album on any given day. And because it is very interesting. The reason I'm going to talk about Kadavar today is I got this record, and my throat is still a little bit wonky. I got this record, I don't know, last summer, and it's been sitting there all this time. But just the other day, Kadavar, last week I think, Kadavar announced that they are releasing a box set of it's supposed to be the 10th anniversary of their first album, which came out in 2012. It's a couple years late. They said they've been working on it forever. I guess got delayed because of COVID or whatever, but it's the original album, a box set of the original album, the original demo CD they did, which was, I think, just 2 songs. I think it was Forgotten Past and maybe Black Sun or All Our Thoughts. I think Black Sun. And I think a DVD documentary from way back that has never been seen before, and a book. I think it's not a booklet. I think it's an actual book, and and it's limited to 1,000, and it's probably very expensive. I won't be buying it, but I thought, what better time than to talk about Kadavar, and I do have more Kadavar to come than now. Now, about my history with Kadavar, I did talk about the first album I just mentioned. I did that album 6 months ago maybe, which was gifted to me by Miguel. Again, thank you, Miguel. I don't think he's watching, but I'll thank him anyway. And I talked about my disdain towards Kadavar as people, not as a band, but as people. They especially 2 of them, Tiger, the drummer, and Lupus, the singer and guitarist, were they're very incredible divas. They Tiger anyway chastised me, got very angry with me as I'm wearing a Kadavar shirt and holding expensive merch. And after I told him, and he knew that I'd flown from Mexico to Canada to see him, and he had nothing but disdain for me and talked to me as if I were a child and he was my parent. And I had a little not a fight, but a little argument with him. We exchanged words, and I was really turned off from Kadavar because of that. And that was in December 2019. And this record came out in 2020, I think in the late, maybe around September, October 2020. This was inspired by COVID. It's called the Isolation Tapes. Maybe not by COVID, but by the lockdown or the restrictions that were placed on so many people in different parts of the world, including these guys in Germany. And so I was really, when this album came out, I had a really bad, taste in my mouth related to Kadavar. And before I get into that a little bit more, I have to say Kadavar is the best band, my favorite band. How can I explain this? My favorite band of like the last 30 years, maybe more than 30 years. They've only been around since 2012, and I discovered them in 2013. So when I say 25 years or whatever it's been, that I would consider them my favorite band, I would have to go back probably to Pearl Jam. The last time that there was a new band that I was as much as I was into and in love with and obsessed with as Pearl Jam, well, there was nobody else after them until Kadavar. I'm like just the biggest Kadavar fan. I've seen them live 8 times, which is pretty incredible considering that I live in Mexico and they haven't been around that long. And I've seen them, they're one of only 3 or 4 bands that I've seen in 3 countries, Canada, United States, and Mexico. I've seen them in Mexico 6 times, Canada once, San Diego, California another time. And he knew that too, and he still kind of did this to me and got very stern with me, Tiger did. This diva, this 3-meter tall diva. I think he's around 3 meters, maybe even more. But yeah, and so during that time, from this happened in 2019, December 2019, and that really turned me off of Kadavar. I really just didn't want to listen to them. And so when this came out later, I really didn't like it. A combination of that, and also it's just a very strange, very weird, totally different album from Kadavar that you wouldn't expect from them. Now, I did then, and even more now, even when I really was off the Kadavar bandwagon, which I was driving. I think I was the pilot of that bandwagon. I can't say that I hated this album, but I respect the fact that they did it, both then and now, much more even now than then. As I said, this came out purely as a result of the COVID lockdowns or restrictions, whatever you want to call it. So this was, I'm sure Kadavar didn't have an album ready to go in the can, and this wasn't good. If COVID hadn't existed, I don't think this album would have existed. I guess that's the best way to say it. And one thing that I've always loved about Kadavar, in addition to their music, of course, and I probably talked about this last time, is these guys work really hard. One of the great things about Kadavar is they're always doing something. They're putting out, singles out of nowhere. They put an album out, and then, a couple months later they have a single. I think for the Berlin album, I think they did a video for every song on that album. They did like 10 or 11 videos. What else do they do? They do different versions of songs. They kind of, Into the Night, they recorded as a single, and then they re-recorded it for a different version on Berlin. And they're always doing something cool like this. So I really respect, even though at the time I thought this record sucked, I did, at least back then especially, and as I said even more now, have the wherewithal to realize, okay, I don't really like the music on it, but I really respect and think it's great, for whatever that's worth, that Kadavar is working. And they did two other kind of, not live records, but they built their own studio. That's another great thing they did. Several years ago, they posted on social media, hey, here's pictures of us, hammering and building our new studio. And then like 6 months later, they said, we have a new album coming out. We wrote it and recorded it in our new studio that we've just built, and it's coming out. This was all in such a short period of time. So I really think it's great that they did this record, even though I don't love it. It's a bonus record. Now, the reason that I say I don't love it, and it's so different, it's completely different. Kadavar is really, heavy, aggressive, really purely guitar driven, kind of dark sounding in many cases. And this record, there's almost no guitar. It's almost all keyboard, synthesizer. Even the drums on this album sound weird. They don't, Kadavar has these really big pounding, thunderous drums, hard hitting and really intense drums. And this one, they sound very different, and the style is very different. But again, I think it's great that they did this record. And when it came out in 2020, I swear I listened to it once and never listened to it again because of the problems I had with them, and also because I didn't really like it. But listening to it again recently, I think I'm getting back into Kadavar mode. I really love Kadavar. I don't really care, I guess, now about the fact that they're arrogant divas, incredibly arrogant, stuck-up, pompous divas who were incredibly rude and condescending to me. I don't really care about that. Maybe I do, but it's enough for me to. It's not enough for me to not continue my love affair with their music. Have I talked long enough? Yes, I think I have. So I will get to the track by track now. And no, before I do, musically, as I said, this album is really weird. Vocally, I think Lupus, the singer, is a great singer. I saw them when they first played Mexico in 2014. They played 2 nights. They played one night opening for Wolf Mother, and then the next night at a tiny, seriously, this big, this bar called Kadavar. And I went to both shows, and went for the Kadavar show, which was the night after the Wolf Mother show. I'd never heard of or been to that bar before, and I was staying in an apartment around the corner from it. I stayed there overnight in Mexico City, so I walked to this bar just to check it out, and I saw that the door was open, and you have to go in, you have to kind of go up like this, and I went in, and there they were. There was nobody in there but Kadavar and maybe 2 or 3 staff members, and I watched their sound check, and man, Lupus is a great singer. He was doing the sound check, just, I guess warming up his voice with no instruments, and he's got a great voice. I think the vocals on this album are amazing. Musically, it is very different, but vocally, Lupus is fantastic. So here it is, and it's got a hype sticker. Now this came out on, I'm not sure how you say it, Robotor Records, which is that's another thing Kadavar did. They started their own record label. And so they self-release all their stuff. So this is on Robotor or Roboter Records. Kadavar, the Isolation tapes, and it's got some, these 8, 9, 10-star reviews from Classic Rock, Def Forever, Rock Hard, Metal Hammer. And there's a quote. It says, Kadavar delivers and they spelled delivers wrong. Kadavar delivers the most open-minded and mature work of their career, packed in a wonderful artwork. And I guess it is. This is a gatefold, as you can see there. And it says 180-gram gatefold, cloudy blue / turquoise edition, limited to only 500. There's only 500 copies of this around the world. And it's a very basic album cover. And if you notice, there's that I love their logo too. That really, really got my attention when I first heard them in 2013. And I've got the tattoo here, the Kadavar tattoo. It's my name, my last name, Delaney. It worked out perfectly. Same number of letters, is it? Kadavar, 7, Delane. 7 letters with an A, that my name has an A in the middle, and Kadavar, so it worked great. Man, I love Kadavar, I have to say. Despite the fact that they're pompous, arrogant divas, I can't deny that their music is great. So, that was very long. I think a little bit longer than normal. So I will open it up. And one thing I never liked about Kadavar is they never put lyrics in any of their records. I don't know if this is any different. This is also the only one that I never bought. I had all the other ones on CD at the time that they came out. And this is the only one that I never bought. I guess because I don't know if this was ever released on CD. At least I never saw it in Mexico. And also at this point, I didn't really want to buy any more Kadavar stuff, but I did buy this one. I'm going to guess this also has no lyrics. It was always disappointing that they didn't have lyrics. All right. So I don't know what to expect from here. So let me see the gatefold. All right. And I should say also lyrically, I guess this was at least one song for sure was inspired by the lockdowns. That's why it's called the Isolation tapes. And so here it says, and I don't know if this is. It looks like this is lyrics, but I don't know this album well enough to recognize it. It says, suddenly the world is standing still. There's a moment of bliss and relief as all thoughts and intentions brought along in full motion burst, change their meanings, remain unordered. Chaos rises from the silence. A door has slammed behind your back, a swarm of bees around your head. The inner urge has never left. Now there's nowhere to run. All what's left is all that matters. Chaos must be ordered. Burr by its own rules. I think that's a typo, no? Burr, B-U-R, Burr by its own rules. There is no need to rush. What else can you do except to shove all old out of the way? If nothing else will give you space, what else can you do once the arrow left the bow? To let it fly and hold your breath, wishing well and hope the best. That sounds like song lyrics, but if they are, I have no idea what song they're from because I'm really quite unfamiliar with this record. And it was recorded in their studios. And I think I started to say earlier, but I didn't finish the thought, that they also did during the lockdowns, in addition to this record, they did 2 live kind of concerts, no crowd, just in their studio. They played a full set, like 14, 15 songs. They did that twice, which is pretty cool. All right, so here it is. Let me see what's inside. Yeah, again, no lyrics. It's just this playing. And the record is cloudy blue or turquoise. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, it's, I don't know, is that a swirl or a splatter or a marble? I'm not sure what it is. Kind of cool looking. I think that's all. Let me just take a look to make sure there's not an insert. I believe there's not. No, that's all. Yeah, so Kadavar, man, get with it. Come on, get with the lyrics. Now, they're also working on a new album. They announced months ago that they were working on a new album. And knowing the way they work, which is very fast, that I would think has got to be very close to being done. This was the last music they released. No, they did a cover of Green Man Alicia with the 2-Prong Crown, maybe 2 years ago. This is the last full record that they released. So I will, something else that kind of bugged me about this record, and it's really, really stupid, as are most of the things that I say. I talked about this when I've done the Black Sabbath albums, especially the first record. Volume 4 had some, Paranoid had some. These weird, it wasn't just War Pigs, it was Luke's Wall / War Pigs. And it wasn't just Wheels of Confusion, it was Wheels of Confusion / The Straightener. And this album is kind of weird like that. It's, and I know it's a very, very minor thing, but it seems they've written it, the way that it's labeled is kind of like as a concept album. So side A is Tabula Rasa, parts 1 to 4. It's like Pink Floyd or something. And then the songs are, there's like 1, Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 3, 4, 5. But then on the second side, they're not numbered. So I don't know if it's like the first side is supposed to be a concept, and then side B is called Flying Arrows. Flying Arrows is not a song, it's the name of side B. Side B is called Flying Arrows. Side A is Tabula Rasa, parts 1 to 4. I don't know, it's kind of strange, I think. That turned me off, only that much. Very, very little, but that always kind of bothered me. No, nothing else in there. All right, so as you might expect, and I think this is about at least 3 of these episodes in a row that I've done, that I've needed notes. I need to get back into the episodes where I really, really know it and can really talk about them comfortably. But I do have some notes here. And I have to say, when I listen to this, I've listened to it twice in full, including just recently to take some notes about it. I do enjoy it much, much more than I thought I did. It's definitely the last, if I was gonna, try to get anybody who likes this kind of music into Kadavar, this would be the last album that I would ever, suggest anybody to listen to. But I'm more open-minded to it now. So the first song, it's Tabula Rasa Part 1, I guess, which is called The Lonely Child. Now this is, it's kind of a longer song. It's 6:19, and it's just an instrumental. And I think it's been well established if you've seen other episodes. I'm not the biggest fan of instrumentals. Some are awesome, but there are some instrumentals for me that are just incredible. But in general, if I had my way, every song would have lyrics. But it's an instrumental, and it's a weird instrumental. It's as I said, it's a little bit long, 6:19. It's almost all keyboards. There's very little guitar. In the last couple of minutes, maybe the last, 2 minutes or something, it does, the drums and guitars kind of come into it. And it's kind of weird and trippy and spacey, and I think ethereal, I would say. And then track 2, and also Roman numeral part 2 of this concept, I guess, is called Fly Among the Stars. This one is not as keyboard heavy as The Lonely Child, but it is kind of mellow, trippy. It doesn't sound like typical Kadavar, and there are vocals in this song. I think The Lonely Child is the only instrumental. 3, and also part 3 of the concept is called, and this is another weird thing. It's called Unnaturally Strange, and then in parentheses, ? Where's the record? I know that shouldn't bother me, but it does. See? Unnaturally Strange. Why is there a question mark? I don't know. It just seems kind of pompous. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. So Unnaturally Strange, parentheses, ? I guess I'll call it. This one is very bass driven. There's lots of percussion in this. You can hear some hand claps, some wood block on this one. I think this one, there are, I think 3 songs on here that when I hear them, I think these could be, with some changes, some tweaks or something, these could be Kadavar songs. Not that they need to go rework them into proper songs to release on another record. And as far as I know, they've never played any of these songs live. But I think this one, if they tweaked it a little bit, this could be like a real guitar, real Kadavar song. This one's pretty good, Unnaturally Strange. Next is Roman numeral 4. It's track 4, but it's also Roman numeral 4. And another visually weirdly titled song. It's I Won't Leave You, parentheses, Rosie. Instead of just calling it I Won't Leave You, Rosie, it's parentheses, I Won't Leave You, Rosie. And I think Rosie is Lupus's girlfriend. If it's the same, I'm assuming that's her. He wrote a song about her called Spanish Wild Rose on Berlin, which is one of my favorite records ever by any band. Berlin is unbelievable. So yeah, I Won't Leave You, Rosie. This is an excellent song. I like this one a lot. This one has a quiet intro, and it starts kind of mellow, and then it kind of develops into a more up-tempo rock song. It has a really, really noisy ending, kind of crashing drums and guitars, and kind of smashy, thrashy, something like that. This is another, and I think just like Unnaturally Strange, that they could do as like a, I don't know if it's correct to say a real Kadavar song, but like a rock Kadavar song. This one could be played live, I guess is what I'm saying. Next is 5, or V, Roman numeral V, not 2, V. It's called The World Is Standing Still. This one is very synth-driven. Well, at least the intro is very synth-driven. It is kind of mellow, quiet song. Great vocal. Maybe this one more than the other ones. This one has a great vocal. Very, just a really nice melodic vocal. And then I think, yeah, on the other side, another oddly titled, it's Eternal Light, parentheses, We Will Be Okay, which I guess is also about COVID or lockdowns. It's like saying, we'll be okay, we have to get through this. And again, I don't know what the lyrics are. This has, again, a quiet, kind of a mellow, trippy synthesizer intro, and then it becomes more up-tempo, more like a rock song. The last minute or so, minute and a half, 40 seconds or something, to me sounded very, very kind of uplifting. It kind of makes you feel like, yeah, man, this is, and maybe that's why it's called We Will Be Okay. Yeah, I like this song. This album is a lot better than I thought. Still my least favorite Kadavar, I think. 7, another strange one. It's called Peculiar Reality, but that's made into one word. Peculiar Reality, one word, no spaces, with a parenthesized, if that's the right way to say it, exclamation point or exclamation mark. I'm not sure what that's meant to signify. But this one is kind of filler. I've talked about this many times. Filler isn't necessarily bad. Filler to me, it could be short songs, instrumentals, covers, kind of intro, interludes, things like that. And Peculiar Reality, it's filler. It's only a minute 52. There's only keyboard and vocal in the song. There's no, maybe there was some bass, I can't remember. No drums for sure. I think no guitar. And it's also, like some of the other songs, kind of trippy and, mellow, ethereal. I hate that word, but I'll say it. Now the next song, this is track 8 out of 10, Everything Is Changing. This song is fucking awesome. I love this song. Even at the time when I heard it, this one always stood out to me. When I listened to it today and earlier the other day, and I realized, yeah, this song really, really stands out. Amazing song. I would even say one of the great Kadavar songs in their entire catalog, and they have 5 or 6 full-length albums. This is one of the best ones. The vocal is amazing, very melodic. This has a total, and it is largely keyboard or synth driven. Now I'm not sure if it's actual synthesizers or if it's like a guitar synthesizer or something, but it oh my god, it sounds, if you listen to the song Everything Is Changing, it sounds totally, you think it was like an 80s teen coming of age, like The Breakfast Club or something like that. It sounds like the soundtrack, or it sounds like it would have been on the soundtrack of an 80s kind of teenage movie, something like that, early mid 80s. Very, very 80s sounding. And I mean that in a good way, because like I said, this song is incredible. This one, maybe more than the other ones, could be, and maybe even should be, reworked. And I don't mean that they're going to rework it and go record it, but man, play this one live. I don't think this one deserves to be kind of thrown away or forgotten or relinquished to the dustbin of unused or unplayed Kadavar songs, because it's a good one. And it really reminds me of, it doesn't sound like it at all, but just in terms of how its placement on the record. Black Sabbath, who are you on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. You know, that song I love that song. It's also very keyboard driven. You wouldn't expect a song like that from Black Sabbath. It's kind of melodic, catchy, but it's also a little bit dark. And I think this one is like that. It really, really stands out. Yeah. What else did I say about this one? Now this one, clearly the lyrics are about the COVID and the lockdowns or isolation, whatever. He mentioned, I do know this one. I know the lyrics to this somewhat. He mentioned something about, I have to rest from the sound of my guitar or something like that. What's the lyric? 33. 33 and things are changing. He's talking about his age. I guess Lupus was 33 when COVID happened 4 years ago. 33 and things are changing. 33 and things are changing. I can't remember, but I think that one is pretty obviously about lockdowns. And what a great melody to that song. That 80s keyboard or synthesizer, guitar synthesizer, whatever it is. I love it. Everything is changing. Classic, I would even say, Kadavar. And I really, really hope they can somehow work that into their live set whenever they start playing live again. Two more. The Flat Earth Theory. This is another one similar to Peculiar Reality. It's filler. It's a minute and 50. It's keyboard and vocal only, and it also is very trippy, whatever you want to call it. And then the last song is Black Spring Rising. This is also keyboard and vocal only. Maybe there was some bass in there. And I thought I heard towards the end there's maybe some female, maybe in the last minute or 30 seconds or something. There's a backing vocal in there, I'm sure. And it sounds like a woman. I don't know if there's any credits on here. Now it does say lyrics for Black Spring Rising by Rosa, maybe that's Rosie, maybe that's Lupus's girlfriend, by Rosa Merino Claros. Maybe that's also her singing it. No, here it is. Vocals on Black Spring Rising by, God, I can't read that name. It's a strange name. I don't know. Anyway, so there it is. The Isolation Tapes. And I have to say, I'm in a different frame of mind now than when this record first came out 4 years ago. I'm much more open-minded to it now. And I do like it. As I said, it's not what you expect from Kadavar, but I do like it. I'm glad to have it. And I got this really cheap. This is, I think, in all these records that I've bought in the last year or however long it's been, this was pretty much, I think, the cheapest one. I can't remember how much it was, and I bought it just because it was cheap and just to kind of, I'm not quite a completist, but I did want to have it. Yeah, there it is. So there it is, the very strange, odd, peculiar by Kadavar album called The Isolation Tapes.